Welcome to the PFC podcast. I'm your host, Coach Mike Payton. I'm a certified personal trainer, and I'll be giving you tips and tricks on how to improve your overall fitness and help you make progress in the gym. Let's get right into the show. Welcome back. In this episode, we're going to be talking about, are you building muscle or are you building strength? So, muscle versus strength. This is a very interesting question. I'll preface this by saying you need both. You need both strength and muscle. In order to build strength, you're going to build muscle. Now, strength is very easily adaptable versus muscle because, especially whenever you're first starting out. So whenever you first start out, you're getting all those newbie gains. You're going to gain some muscle, but you're going to gain more strength than you are muscle, especially in the beginning. And that's because your nervous system is actually the thing that's adapting and becoming more efficient. So the more efficient your nervous system can fire and activate those motor neurons, those muscle fibers, then you're going to build a lot more strength. You're going to have a lot more strength than you will gain later. Now, with that said, if you stagnate in that and then you start to build that muscle, then you'll also gain strength from that. So muscle size does have a very direct correlation to strength. But let's get into specifics of how to develop each one. So if you want to build muscle, you can basically train within any rep range you want. You can do a 5x5, you can do a 3x10, 3x20, and you're going to build muscle. But if you really want to hone in on hypertrophy training, you want around 8 to 12, 20 reps, and probably around 3 sets of that. And then you want to be training within a 3 reps to failure, or 2 failure. If you're more advanced, 2 failure is fine. But if you're first starting out, that could easily push you over the edge and overtrain you, which we want to avoid that as much as possible, especially if you're an average person, because if you're an average person, you have life stressors. And what I mean by average person is someone who doesn't work out for a living. So if you don't work out for a living, you're an average person. I'm an average person. I don't work out for a living. I work other people out for a living. But if you want to build strength, strength is both building muscle and a neurological adaptation. So training strength, you want to train in lower reps. So anywhere from 1 to 5, maybe 8 reps. And in that range, and you can have 3 sets, you can have 2 sets, you can have 5 sets, but you want to be training with heavier loads. So the heavier the load, the better for building strength. And again, you don't want to train really, really close to that muscular failure, especially if you're lifting heavier loads, because that can be a little bit more dangerous. But you do want to get close. You want to get within that 3 to 2 reps in reserve, because that's going to help you to actually develop strength. So let's talk more specifically about how to build strength, the way to program for that, because you want to have phases in your training where you are trying to build muscle, because for 2 reasons. Number one, because muscle is protective. It's a safe organ for lack of a better word. It's a safe tissue. It helps you to survive. It keeps your joints healthy. It keeps you safe. And that's multi-leveled, both orthopedic. It keeps you safe, like joint wise, keeps you safe metabolically, like it raises your metabolism. It helps you to burn calories. It also helps you to be more insulin sensitive. So not only is it safe for your joints, but it's also safe for your whole body. But what else it does is if you build muscle, it actually helps to increase the contractile force that the muscle can produce. So if the muscle can produce more force because there's more of the fibers, you're going to be able to lift more weight because of that. So you want to start out with a strength phase, especially whenever you're starting out. You want to build as much strength as possible, in between like 4 to 8 weeks of a strength phase, and that you can develop strength within any lift that you want. You could do bench, squat, and deadlift for like a powerlifting. You could do overhead press, bent over row, and leg press if you wanted to. You could focus on a number of different lifts and get really strong with those. And that's what I recommend to do first. So figure out what you want to have your workout look like, and then train with heavy loads for a long stint of time until you either stagnate or you hit that 8 weeks and you're like, okay, now I'm ready to put on some muscle. And then we shift over to that hypertrophy. And whenever you switch over to that hypertrophy training, you're going to have a lot higher reps, a lot lighter load, and you're going to build a lot of muscle. And so after you put on as much muscle as you can within either 4 to 8 weeks, you go back and do another strength phase, either with the same or similar lifts, and see how much you've progressed. And then you can kind of switch back and forth between those if you want, or you can, and then you can vary within those phases, like different training methodologies, training closer to failure, training with a tempo. You could try isometrics. Like there's a lot of different things that you can throw in there to build strength. So in order to build strength, you also have to build muscle. To build muscle, I think it's a good idea to also build strength. So I would flip everything and do it the opposite as I would strength. I would start with a hypertrophy phase. Start by building as much muscle as you can. After you put on as much muscle as you can within those rep ranges that I put at the beginning of the video or the episode, and then you go to a strength phase, like maybe a 5x5 or something of that nature, lift a little bit heavier of loads, and then go back to another hypertrophy phase, because the increased strength is going to help you to lift more weight, even in the lighter loads. So say you start out with a 15-pound dumbbell for bicep curls, and then you do a strength phase. You come out of that strength phase back into a hypertrophy phase, and then you have those. Then you do 15-pound or 20-pound dumbbells instead of the 15s that you did before. But it feels the same as doing those 15s prior to that. And that's what we call progressive overload, right? You still want to be gaining strength, and by gaining that strength, you're going to be gaining muscle. The major component to like building muscle, though, is that progressive overload. You do want to increase the weight over time. It might be a little bit slower than your like powerlifting, or strength. So, and by doing that, you're going to um, be gaining muscle throughout that time. Another component that I would throw in there is you got to make sure you are keeping track of things, both with strength and with building muscle. You want to be logging things. You want to either have a workout program where you can log weights, log reps, all of that, or you want to just have a workout journal. Write down the exercise. Write down like um, what your like intensity was, like your RPE, RIR, and then write down how many reps and how much weight you did. And you can do that for every exercise of your workout. And then the next week, you try to do the same thing, same workout, but with increased weight. And you do that over time, and you'll gain muscle. It's as simple as that. Now for strength, it's very similar to that, but you just want to be training with heavier loads. So you might be doing less reps, but you'll be still focusing on that progressive overload. And within that, you want to make sure that you are keeping track of things, because if you're not keeping track, you won't know what the heck you've done, and so you won't know if you're actually progressing or not. So that's the key component. If you don't take anything else from this episode away, the major component is keep track of things. Whether you're trying to build strength, whether you're trying to build muscle, keep track of things, because keeping track is going to keep you on track. If you enjoyed this episode and you thought it helped you, please follow the podcast. And if you want to follow me for more, you can follow me on Coach Mike Payton at on Instagram. And then on Facebook, you can follow me at Michael Payton. And on YouTube, also Coach Mike Payton.